going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your WWE King and Queen of the Ring 2024. Yes, it's in Saudi, but guess what? We're gonna do it anyway. Preview. Yeah, really thought I was not gonna be doing this solo because I'm half awake. Before I get into any of this, I want to send out a quick recommend for all of you guys out there in the hashtag wrestling community. If you are not familiar already with the Wrestling for Life Network, I checked out their live stream during NXT this week for the first time. Big, huge, gigantic recommend. If you aren't following them already, I've retweeted a couple of their things on X, etc. They're pretty cool guys. I'm going to be hanging out there more. I encourage you to do the same. So shout out to those guys and shout out to our buddy Jake DeMarco. The most recent episode of The State of Wrestling with myself and Jake DeMarco is available. Now we talk about a lot of different cancel culture issues that are going on in the WWE right now. We talk about Triple H versus the media as that stands right now, and then we just do sort of a general overview of how both companies are doing, and I'm sure you can speculate as to how that conversation goes. You'll note there's two pay-per-views coming up this weekend, and I'm previewing the good one, and the good one is the one in Saudi Arabia. So there you go. Oh, man, I wish I wasn't doing this by myself. As I say, Jake was originally supposed to be joining me tonight. Unfortunately, he's not able to. We will be trying to get together to knock out another State of Wrestling sometime over the course of this weekend, which will include results and review and thoughts on King and Queen of the Ring itself, along with a lot of other topics that initially I had planned on talking about tonight, but we'll save it for them because they're better in a conversational platform. So now that I'm done waffling on about other things that are not King and Queen of the Ring, let's talk about more things that are not quite King and Queen of the Ring, and that is, what does SmackDown in Saudi Arabia look like? Because I have no clue. I don't know, and I haven't really looked it up, I'm not going to lie, it's just more fun to speculate. The Saudi shows, whatever you think of them, and I should say, there's a preview that Black Cat Feline and I did ages ago around the time of the first or second Saudi show, and it was basically like looking at, we're previewing this show inside and out, and I go into great detail as to my opinions on the Saudi shows in general. I see both sides. I see the side where it's like, I'm not there, I don't tune into wrestling for politics. I'm going to tune in and watch a show and just take it as another episode of WWE TV. That's more where I lean. And if you're on the other side of the coin and it's absolutely abhorrent what they're doing in Saudi, I totally get that as well. If that means you want to click off of this video or this podcast, that's cool as well. If you want to have a constructive conversation about that in the comment section down below, or find me on X, I'm open to that as well. Let's just not throw mud at each other. That's for AEW. They're doubling down on the mud. Anyways, moving swiftly on. This is the first time that they've done a Saudi show, and the SmackDown beforehand has been part of it. Typically, they've taped 2 episodes of SmackDown. We've had ridiculous spoilers, and then we get the taped episode. Now, we're still getting a taped episode if you're in North America, if you're in my part of the world. So the spoilers will still be out there, but not a week in advance. So it's not that surprising, realistically. As we've seen with Puerto Rico, as we saw with France, did they do it for Australia? I don't remember. But in a couple of other places as well, Friday Night SmackDown has become part of the package. Now, whether that's a good thing, whether that's a bad thing, I don't really know. It kind of means, because the pay-per-views are on Saturday, which is closer to Friday than Monday, and yes, that's how days work, it does mean that if you're on the pay-per-view, you're on the pay-per-view. If you're not on the pay-per-view and you're on SmackDown, you still get to be part of that atmosphere. And if you're not on the pay-per-view and you're on Raw, you're kind of left out in the cold. So there is a little bit of a disparity there. So anybody on Raw that's not part of the pay-per-view, I think they do kind of get left out in the cold. Now, that might change if the rumors of WWE PLEs moving to Sunday becomes a true thing, because we know TKO wants to do these whole weekend packages where it's like, what, it's like Power Slap on Friday. I don't get the whole Power Slap thing, I'm not gonna lie. And then UFC on Saturday, which is not entirely my thing, and then pay-per-views on Sunday, which people are acting like it's the end of the world, but it was our lives for ages and ages and ages. Pay-per-views were on Sunday. Now, do they flip the script? Do they say, okay, you get the pay-per-view on the Monday in Puerto Rico or France, or in this case, Saudi Arabia, etc., etc.? I don't really know. But I will say it's going to be all over the map, because look at what I've got coming in Toronto in a couple of months, where we've got the NXT show on the Sunday. So how does that fit into the whole mix? It's weird for me watching TKO stuff when it's a very much a WWE UFC package, and I'm not a UFC guy. I respect the guys. I'm sure they beat the shit out of each other. I'm sure they work their asses off to get where they are and all that kind of thing. It's just not my thing. The whole argument, well, you got to watch UFC because it's real. You think that's a plus. The UFC fans out there think it's a plus. It's not. You're not going to get a run in. You're not, okay. If you're an AEW fan, you're not going to get somebody running in with a fucking flamethrower during a UFC event. You're not going to get a curb stomp through a steel chair and all that other fun stuff that fiction gets us. When you get upset about wrestling, remember that it's fiction. Oh, yes. Anyways, all of this to say, I don't know what SmackDown looks like in Saudi Arabia, because I don't think they're doing a stadium-sized SmackDown. So what is the the Jeddah Superdome is where we're doing King and Queen of the Ring. I don't think they're going to do SmackDown in the Jeddah Superdome. I really don't. So what is the arena venue in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia? I don't know. I can pull stadiums off the top of my head. I can pull the Barclays Center, the Staples Center. Up here we got the Scotiabank Arena. Madison Square Garden was the home of wrestling for years and years and years and years. All these different places. TD Bank. I've been in the TD Bank Arena in Boston, believe it or not. I don't know what the arena is in Saudi Arabia. Is it going to be... Are they just going to put a small crowd in the big building? That's not going to work. Are they going to do the thing like they did for WrestleMania where there was no screen and it was just a lit up tunnel, and that looked really badass? I don't know how that translates to a Saudi crowd and a Saudi show on a pre-taped show, etc., etc., etc. Really, really, it's not going to make or break the weekend by any stretch, so I'm really drilling down on this thing that's ultimately not going to matter. But yeah, that's my general question to you guys. By the time you guys are getting this, you guys are listening to this Friday morning. Friday midday is when SmackDown will be happening. So maybe by the time that you've listened to this, or maybe by the time you're hearing me say this right now, there's already pictures on X of what the venue looked like for SmackDown. And we're going to get the SmackDown spoilers. The only thing really from SmackDown that we need to assess, and the only thing that really makes it hard for me to do a PLE preview, is I'm always doing it before SmackDown, but in this case we've got the finals on the SmackDown side for the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. We got Nia Jax versus Bianca Belair, Tama Tonga versus Randy Orton. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it should be Nia Jax, and it's probably going to be Randy Orton. I think it would be a lot of fun. As somebody who... Tama Tonga is a new character to me, and everybody said, oh, he was making funny noises on SmackDown last week. So. That's all I got. I don't even have a response for you people. Yes, I said you people. I'm not Don Cherry. You can't cancel me for saying you people. But yeah, after last week's SmackDown, where Tiffany Stratton, I'm pretty sure, got fucked because of cancel culture, and Nia Jax got yelled at for doing character work with another wrestler's kid who was clearly in on the gimmick. You guys are idiots, and your idiocy has pushed me to defend Nia Jax. So much so, I want Nia Jax to go in there and squash Bianca Belair. Now, that's beyond reason, but... The only upside is that the winner of that match is going to go on to face Lyra Valkyria, who is a super babyface. Really, really happy to see Lyra Valkyria in the spot that she's in right now. But do we want a Bianca babyface versus Lyra babyface? Because then you're just going to squash Lyra Valkyria, are you not? Nia Jax would be a really fun, interesting test for Lyra Valkyria. I do think, by the way, as a total side note, and probably a larger conversation at a later date, the current call-ups, all of them supposedly are working directly with Paul Heyman, who is a liaison for them to the creative team and to Triple H. Now, back in the day when Triple H was the NXT guy, he would have been their liaison most directly, but now Triple H is running the whole damn tamale, and he's handed some of that liaison status to somebody with the brain of a Paul Heyman, which I think is awesome. Look at the way they're producing Braun Breaker. Look at the way that they're producing, yes, she still has a job, Tiffany Stratton. Look at how they're producing somebody like Lyra Valkyria, who's already got the rub of working with somebody like Becky Lynch. I think that's amazing. He's got a minimized role now within the Bloodline. They're basically keeping him around as a whipping post for Solo Sikoa until Roman Reigns comes back as a second behind-the-scenes job. I'm sure Paul Heyman passes on his stuff to anybody that will listen. But to specifically be the liaison for new call-ups to the main roster, I think that's a fantastic role for him, in my personal opinion. Nia Jax to beat Bianca Belair, and realistically speaking, Randy Orton's going to beat Tama Tonga. I mean, it is what it is. Now, if Gunther had lost and it was Jey Uso, you could get some really cool Jey Uso, Tama Tonga, oh my god, Jey Uso can't escape the Bloodline no matter what he does stories, but we didn't do that. We gave it to Gunther instead, which is fucking awesome because he needs upward momentum after losing the Intercontinental Championship. So all of this works. And before we get into the brackets themselves and the pay-per-view themselves, because those are the first two matches I'm going to talk about, we have to talk about Triple H's announcement. And no, it's not the announcement about SummerSlam 2026. Gonna leave that until Jake's here with me, because we got a lot to say about that. But it is the announcement that King and Queen of the Ring will receive title matches, world title matches at SummerSlam this year. Now, they're not quite treating it like the Rumble, because the winner of the Royal Rumble, both male and female, can pick which champion they go after. Triple H was very specific. They are going to go for the champion of their brand, which means by the time we get to SummerSlam, we do have another men's and another women's championship match to determine, but it means half the job is already done, and SummerSlam is, what, 3 months away, and you're already there. Using it like a building block, using it like the Rumble, like a lot of us have said for a long time. First of all, what did we say? We said bring back King and Queen of the Ring. Or sorry, bring back King of the Ring, do Queen of the Ring. Everybody got mad when it was called the Queen's Crown. Same thing. Absolutely the same thing. Get over it. First of all, we said bring back King of the Ring, do Queen of the Ring, whatever. Second of all, we said bring back King of the Ring and make it worth something. And this is absolutely the case here. And he's solidified it along with other news that will be talked about at a later date, which has me really excited because I called it like a week or so ago. We're going to get to that on the pod when I got Jake with me when we're doing State of Wrestling, because it's a bigger conversation to have. So, pretty damn sure we're going to get Nia Jax and Randy Orton, which doesn't hurt my feelings at all. The other thing about that is if Bianca Belair is out, and this is not a dig, so put your pitchforks away, please don't come and burn down my house, we could get the last minute announcement of a women's tag team title match on the card. Because, and it's worth mentioning by the way, Becky Lynch is defending her championship in Saudi. Bayley is not. And as it stands right now, Bianca and Jade Cargill are not. If Jax is going for the crown, then Bianca is free to potentially defend those tag titles in Saudi. And yes, am I focusing on all these matches specifically because they're women, because the presence or absence of women's matches at a Saudi show is a constant topic of conversation? Absolutely yes. Am I also saying it because it remains funny that WWE puts on more women's matches and features more female talent on a Saudi Arabia show than Tony Khan does on a weekly US-based television show? Yes. Also yes. Moving on. Moving swiftly on. Let's go. Gunther versus the winner of the SmackDown bracket, which I'm assuming is going to be Randy Orton. I mean, Gunther's winning, isn't he? Gunther's winning. A lot of people are saying that this is going to get to Orton versus Cody at SummerSlam. It's a dream match, whatever the case may be. I don't think that getting Gunther this far and then having him lose on the PLE, I don't think that's the upward mobility we were just thinking about. I think a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be Orton Cody, and the fact that a lot of people want Orton Cody means you put the heat on Gunther, and I'm going to say this about another match later on down the line as well. You put the heat on Gunther for potentially taking that match away from the crowd, and you give us a match that, I'm not gonna lie, I really want to see, which is Gunther versus Damian Priest. It's weird. I want to look at it. Gunther, nobody really hates Gunther. He's a bad guy, but nobody really hates Gunther. It's just like, oh, cool, here comes Gunther. We're gonna watch him kill somebody. It's fine. And you've got Damian Priest, who it's the worst kept secret in WWE right now that he's slowly turning face. He doesn't care what the rest of Judgment Day are doing. He doesn't care that the rest of Judgment Day just lost their tag team title opportunity and that they're hanging out with Carlito. He's doing his own thing, and he's making moral stands in the sense of, you know, fuck off and let me have my title matches. Don't get involved. I don't want you involved. So, Gunther, who's not really heel, and Damian Priest, who's not really face yet, but everybody likes him. Look at Backlash last year in Puerto Rico and everything he's done since. The big scene that he caused at the beginning of Night 2 of WrestleMania this year, Damian Priest ain't going anywhere. I hate to tell you. I know that Drew McIntyre and CM Punk is the biggest story to not have a match on Raw right now. But underneath that, you've got Damian Priest taking up where Seth Rollins left off, really making that belt quietly mean something. And yes, I say quietly, Cody's got the big belt. I get it. But he's doing stuff. It's under the surface, but he's doing stuff. Gunther versus Damian Priest is a match I really want to see. It's a really weird-looking match that I want to see. And yes, I know a weird-looking match that I want to see at once upon a time was Bray Wyatt versus Ryback, and that came back to kick me in the nuts. But it is what it is. I'm going to say Gunther, just because I think a lot of people are assuming Randy. And here's the thing. The thing about all of this is, whoever doesn't win could still get that title match at SummerSlam anyway. That's the other part. That's the part under the sheet that nobody's really telling you. Gunther wins, and he goes on to face Damian Priest at SummerSlam, doesn't mean that Randy Orton also doesn't find his way to Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. It just means that he doesn't do it through the King of the Ring. And as much as, Randy Orton made a point of having a completionist conversation of, one of the only things I haven't done in WWE is win King of the Ring. Well, Cody wanted to be a Grand Slam champion, and that's not going to happen either. As much as, if Randy Orton wants to tell a completionist story, King of the Ring doesn't do anything for Randy Orton. Let's be real about that for a second. I like Randy Orton. Randy Orton's been kicking ass. People are talking about Randy Orton since his comeback. Oh my god, Randy Orton's suddenly good, like it's a new thing. And those people need to fuck off. Totally, 100%. Oh yes. So, my prediction, just to go against everybody else, Gunther's going to win. We're going to get him and Damian Priest, and it's going to be fucking weird. Awesome. Lyra Valkyria taking on either Bianca Belair or Nia Jax. Nia Jax will just be funny. Lyra Valkyria taking on Nia Jax. Lyra Valkyria having her ties to Becky Lynch and going after Nia Jax. It's almost like Becky Lynch saying, here, you get the Nia problem now. But yeah, no, Nia Jax, now that I think about that, I sound like an idiot because Nia Jax would be facing Bayley. Never mind, Lyra Valkyria would be facing Becky Lynch. In theory. But Nia Jax winning King of the Ring would be absolutely obnoxious. She would take what Zelina Vega did and crank up the obnoxiousness to 11, and it would be fine. And what you would get from that, for me, who still is, on again, off again, doing the NXT Rewind series, Bayley versus Nia Jax at TakeOver, way back in the day, was way better than it had any right to be. Now, was it 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome, brother? No. It was absolutely a character showcase for Bayley at the time. But if they can link that back, if they can link Nia Jax back to Bayley and do that for SummerSlam, not the worst thing in the world. Now, Lyra Valkyria on the other side of the coin, winning. I mean, Bianca Belair wants to get her hands on Bayley, even though they're both faces, because she's holding a grudge, and she's doing a really, really bad Drew McIntyre impression. She's literally doing what Drew McIntyre is doing, and I'm sorry, even though he's injured, even though we can't have a match right now, Drew McIntyre is doing it better. Copy of a copy, it's not quite as sharp as the original. I do not need Bianca Belair in the title picture at a Big Four pay-per-view again. The argument that Bianca Belair is made to have stadium shows, she's made to be a Big Four performer. So what you're telling me is Bianca Belair only has to be good 4 times a year? Fuck off. Fuck off. Oh yes. Now, that gets a lot more interesting when we get into the next match, Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan, and Liv Morgan either through fuckery or because people think Becky Lynch is not going to re-sign with WWE, which is hilarious. I would love to see Liv Morgan win this. I like Liv Morgan. I like the story she's got going with Rhea Ripley. I like the fact that she leaves the door open for Rhea Ripley to come in and already have something to do to get back the belt she never lost, which is always a cool story. Liv Morgan needs a title reign. I was going to say a title victory, but she needs a title reign, and she needs a title reign that's not overshadowed by, oh my god, she shouldn't have beaten Ronda Rousey. If they knew what kind of a cunt Ronda Rousey would be today, would they have made Liv Morgan look like such a fluke back then? I don't think they would have. And I'm glad she didn't win in the Battle Royal, because as a lot of people have pointed out that, just picking it up randomly out of a Battle Royal isn't great. Beating a champion for a championship is always better. Beating a champion the likes of Becky Lynch, I don't want to say one of the 3 relevant horsewomen, but Becky Lynch at this stage of the game hasn't had any qualms about putting people over and making people look great. Look what she did for people like Tiffany Stratton and Lyra Valkyria herself in her little sojourn back to NXT. I think that was awesome. I mean, it wasn't going to set the world on fire, but it did what it was supposed to do. I think she tied it up with Kiana James as well. Somebody can correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong, but she definitely made Tiffany Stratton look like $1 million, which isn't that hard because she's fucking awesome. And hey, trigger happy people. Tiffany Stratton still has a job. Are you still upset? I hope so. But she made Tiffany Stratton look great. She made Lyra Valkyria look great. She's going to make Liv Morgan look great. People are saying how annoying Liv Morgan's promos are. It's almost like that's kind of the point. Now, Becky Lynch was defeated by Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania in an awesome moment where both of them were not in great shape at all and still put on a great match. Now, would it make sense if she kept the belt and she was the one to welcome Rhea Ripley back? Sure, because they have unfinished business. Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley have unfinished business. But in the meantime, Becky Lynch was supposed to get some time off after WrestleMania and apparently got called back in to fill in for Rhea Ripley while Rhea Ripley was gone. Now, if this is her segueing out of that and actually getting the time off that she wants, a Liv Morgan, Lyra Valkyria build to SummerSlam is a fantastic way to push not only Liv Morgan that you've never pushed properly, but also Lyra Valkyria, who's a brand new call-up. Because in this new, I'm going to use the tight air quotes, even though you can't see me, it's an audio platform. This is the Triple H era. As corny as that sounds, Jake and I mentioned it the other day on State of Wrestling. We are no longer in the time period where if you're an NXT fan, one of your favorites getting called up to the main roster feels like a funeral. It's not that way anymore. If we get Liv Morgan pushed up to where she should have been a long time ago, maybe defeating Ronda Rousey more convincingly, pushed up to where she belongs by somebody who's an old head like Becky Lynch who can do that, she then gets the momentum that she can then pass on to Lyra Valkyria, and you have a really, really cool moment with 2 relatively new names on a Big Four platform at SummerSlam. I really hope that happens. I really hope Lyra Valkyria okay, here we go. I gotta back this up. I really hope Nia Jax beats Bianca Belair. I really hope Lyra Valkyria beats Nia Jax. I really hope Liv Morgan beats Becky Lynch. I really hope Lyra Valkyria beats Liv Morgan at SummerSlam for the Women's World Championship. There we go. Somebody on another podcast might call that deft dovetailing booking. Now, take the title out of the equation. I don't know how people's healing time frames are. I don't know what the timeline is for Rhea Ripley's return. Imagine Lyra Valkyria goes to the big stage at SummerSlam and defeats Liv Morgan for that World Championship. Leaves victorious, awesome. She goes on to do the press conference. Oh, Triple H's press conferences are suddenly bad. I forgot. But in the meantime, she leaves Liv Morgan in the ring, absolutely distraught over losing the belt that she fought so hard to get, and out comes a fresh, healed, and ready to go Rhea Ripley to pick the bones, and you can tell that entire story without the belt, and then Rhea Ripley can get rid of Liv Morgan, and then she can go after Lyra Valkyria for the championship at, say, I don't know, Survivor Series, or they can be on the opposite ends of teams for War Games, or they can meet each other in the Royal Rumble, or you can do something where Rhea Ripley wins the Rumble again and faces Lyra at WrestleMania, and you've launched 2 stars. 4 stars, actually. 4 stars, actually. Rhea gets bigger than she is right now, which is almost unheard of. Becky Lynch gets to show what a great, veteran presence, I'm a star maker now she is. Liv Morgan is finally where she deserves to be. Lyra Valkyria is now where she deserves to be. And Bianca Belair is on the kickoff where she deserves to be. Nia Jax can do funny crown stuff. She can steal the crown after Lyra wins the belt because Lyra's like, I don't need the crown anymore. You can fuck off. I just had a lot of fun with that. I just had a whole stream of consciousness that just took off in a direction. Hope you guys enjoyed all of that. Much simpler, much simpler is the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I should mention, neither tag title is being defended here. The women's, the world, or the WWE tag titles are not being defended on this show. As I say, unless they announce it on SmackDown, which I'm not going to know about right now. And the US Championship is not being defended. I'll leave it at that for the minute. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed, with the additional story of, is Otis going to turn on Chad Gable? Is the Alpha Academy going to turn on Chad Gable? Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sami Zayn should be in the world title picture by the end of this year. He should be a contender for Money in the Bank. Yes, I'm biased. I'm going to be there. He should be a contender for the Royal Rumble, which means his Intercontinental Championship run should be short. He should lose. Yes, it'll be heartbreaking. Yes, it will be heartbreaking. Sami Zayn, once again, happy to be in Saudi Arabia. He's going to get that hero's reception that he got last year, which is going to be awesome and magical and whatever the case may be. But he needs to lose. And he's not going to lose to Chad Gable. Here's my thing. Sami Zayn and Chad Gable have an awesome in-ring feud going on. Chad Gable has a story with Otis on the side, and that'll be fine. Bronson Reed should win this. And I'm saying that because the story that's being told between the two awesome wrestlers doesn't need the belt. Chad Gable's not in a world title position just yet, but Sami Zayn is, and Sami Zayn is every week elevating Chad Gable. So my thought on this is Chad and Sami Zayn are so focused on each other and the personal rivalry that they've had. As Sami Zayn has said, one side of the rivalry is personal, one side is professional. Bronson Reed can be the monster, the smart monster, that goes on and takes advantage of the fact that these guys are more focused on killing each other than getting the title. Bronson Reed can go have a monster, pun intended, Intercontinental Championship run and take it away, and it doesn't take anything away from Sami Zayn and Chad Gable's personal rivalry, other than Sami can blame himself and blame Chad for the fact that Bronson was able to get his belt. Now, in the overarching feud between Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, you will have at some point a mini feud with him and Otis. When Otis leaves him and finally turns his back, stands up and whatever, you're going to have a cool moment where Sami Zayn steps aside and says, Otis, I'm going to let you handle your own business. It'll be a microcosm of what Sami Zayn had a chance to do to Roman Reigns in Montreal last year at the Chamber. Not nearly on the same level, don't get me wrong. But you're going to have some point where Otis has not only stood up for himself, but he's gone in there and he's squashed Chad Gable, and then he's going to go off and do Otis things. It'll be the Otis Academy now, or something like that. But it'll remove the comedy shtick from Chad Gable. It'll allow him to, even more so than he already has, go into this, self-evolved, I'm the best wrestler, wrestling machine, wrestling god, to borrow a pun from JBL. And that new monster wrestling machine, Chad Gable, goes on to face Sami Zayn for something bigger. They run into each other. They keep taking out each other's chances. Maybe Sami Zayn wants a shot at Damian Priest just before he turns babyface. Maybe Chad Gable, fucks him out of that, and you keep that going, and they have some massive no DQ match at SummerSlam or something like that. My point being is Sami Zayn's next stop should be something that gets him to the World Championship. If he didn't have the IC title right now, I would be very, very surprised if he wasn't in the King of the Ring tournament, or have a situation where he and Chad cost each other the King of the Ring tournament as well. But you've got Money in the Bank coming up. Yes, I'm going. You got the Royal Rumble. Sami Zayn should be top contender for one of those. If it's not going to be CM Punk, it should be Sami Zayn. Just saying. But because he's on that climb, the Intercontinental Championship now becomes a cuff on him. It's like, we don't need to give him the world title because he's got the Intercontinental Championship. So have Chad be his foil as he goes for the world title. Meanwhile, Bronson Reed having monster matches with monster people. Bronson Reed versus Otis. Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. Bronson Reed versus Ivar when he gets back. Well wishes to him. I hope he's doing okay with head and spine stuff. Bronson Reed versus Omos. Where is Omos? Bronson Reed versus, I don't know, one of the guys from AOP. Bronson Reed versus the other guy from AOP. You get a monster run, and for a little while you can book the Intercontinental Championship as the Monster Championship. I joked a while ago on social media, the Cruiserweight Championship has always been something that lasted for a little while and then faded. At this point, when you had the matches like Bronson Reed versus Ivar versus Otis and those triple threat matches, have a superweight division. They're not going to do a superweight division, but make the story around the Intercontinental Championship. I mean, maybe throw Gunther back in the mix too. Who knows? Make the Intercontinental Championship the monster title for a little bit. And then one of those monsters gets taken out by, I don't know, fucking Wes Lee after he gets called up from NXT. Or something like that. Bronson Reed lifting this title out of the Sami and Chad rivalry is going to do them no end of good. Absolutely no end of good. Yes, it is addition by subtraction. You are helping Sami Zayn by taking a title away from him. But, I'm sorry, I know one of the title matches at WrestleMania next year is going to be with CM Punk. I know one of the highlight matches is probably going to be Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. If we don't have Sami Zayn in a world title match by next year, we are doing something wrong. Because look at what he's done. Just look at what he's done. It's been great. It's been awesome. And when we have put him in world title situations, it hasn't looked out of place. If we didn't know for a fact that he wasn't going to win, I would have believed that he was going to win at Elimination Chamber in Montreal, up here in Canada, when he was facing Roman. The only thing that told me that he wasn't going to beat Roman was that we all knew he wasn't going to beat Roman. That seat, that nice cushy seat, was being saved for Cody Rhodes, and I'm not even saying that in a disparaging way. Put the title on Bronson Reed. Take a gamble. I know Sami Zayn's super popular. Chad Gable was super popular, and now he's like super anti-popular. And Bronson Reed sort of seems like, somebody's put a bad ice cube in your drink. That's exactly the reason you should make that. It's not a super shock, but we weren't really expecting that. Put it on Bronson Reed. It'll be good. It will be good, and it will do better for everybody involved. And once Sami is done with Chad, once Sami has firmly defeated Chad and the whatever the finalization of that feud is, that's when the Intercontinental Championship makes its way back around to Chad Gable, and that's when he does it. Because when he does win it, I can see him being obnoxious enough to go back to Sami Zayn, whatever Sami Zayn is doing at that time, and say, look, you thought I would never have this, da-da-da-da-da. And by that point, Sami Zayn might turn around with the world title and be like, that's cool, I've got this one now. And he would still seethe, even with the title that he's been chasing. He could have everything he wants and still feel like he has nothing, which is another cool link in the chain. And I've rambled on that for quite long enough. The creative things are kind of endless with that particular set of people. Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul for the Undisputed WWE Championship. Jake and I actually touched on this last week when it was first announced. it's a weird match. It's sort of a, hey, we want our celebrity guy in the match. As far as the match itself, I think the match is going to be really good. Cody's in his form. He is John Cena 2.0 in the positive, in the same way that Roman Reigns was Cena 2.0 in the negative. He's going to have a fantastic match with Logan Paul. I keep saying it. You can hate Logan Paul all you want, but you can't hate what he's doing in the ring. Because what he's doing in the ring, in some cases, is making the other wrestlers around here look awesome. Because, A, he sells better than anybody gives him credit for. He sells fear better than any... He shoots his mouth off, but then he's really good at knowing that he's about to die. Like, that's the cool thing about Logan Paul. I can't speak intelligently on the shit that he's done outside of the ring, on his streaming and his personal life, whatever. Apparently the guy's a dick. Jake informed me on more of why he was a dick the last podcast we were on, not negating any of that. When I see him on the screen, as a fictional character, he's the exact kind of asshole that I want to follow, like The Miz, like Dolph Ziggler when he was a heel, like Grayson Waller now. It's good, isn't it? He's just winding people. Him and Kevin Owens should have done more, because Kevin Owens is the perfect wound-up guy to face Logan Paul. Don't know where Kevin Owens is right now. Can anybody tell me? Put it down in the box below. Cody's going to give him a good match. People are saying, oh my god, there's WWE. They've gone back to flip-flop. And no. They told you an awesome story last week on SmackDown where you were presented with the possibility of it being title for title and how much bigger that makes everything. Cody Rhodes was presented with the idea of it being title for title and him potentially being a Grand Slam champion. And they told the story of Logan Paul taking that away from Cody, taking it away from the audience, taking it away from Nick Aldis as the person promoting this on his brand. They played him off as the person taking it away from WWE as something that they could promote as champion versus champion. They played him off as the guy taking it away from the Saudi crowd. And I know most people probably don't care about the Saudi crowd, which is really lame, but that is the story being told. Is that you had that was on the mark, and then he said no. He looked at the world champion and said, you haven't done anything to get a shot at my United States Championship. That's the story. It's fucking great, and he brought out a lawyer because everybody hates lawyers because how dare you have a job. The match is going to be awesome. There's going to be some stupid spot in the whole thing. He's going to go for some insane... He's probably going to go for some insane top rope something and get himself RKO'd through a table or Cody Cuttered through a table, and it's going to be fine. It's either going to be a bullshit ending, which is going to get a rematch in Cleveland where they are for SummerSlam. Correct me down in the box below if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. Or there's going to just be Cody Rhodes is going to give him a good match and beat him. Now, the other thing hanging over all of this is apparently, the Wyatt Six might be debuting at this show. Now, do I want it to happen there? No. Do I know where they would fit it in here? No. Do I even have a solid idea in my head of what the Wyatt Six is going to look like? No. I do not think a group that has been brought together to pay tribute to somebody who has just passed away should have their debut associated with the Saudi Arabia shows and all the other political discontent that comes with that. I really don't. But, I mean, there is no but. I don't think they should do it at this show. That doesn't mean if they do it at this show that I'm not going to pop wild for it. Because I don't know. I don't know what the Wyatt Six is going to be. I don't even necessarily think that it's going to be good. But I also don't care if it's good. And I know that's sacrilege to say, oh, you're giving WWE a free pass. No, not quite. You guys have heard me say a lot. I will enjoy pretty much anything if I know that the wrestlers are having a good time. When you've got wrestlers that love fighting each other, when you see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens fighting each other, you can tell they're having a good time. Even when they've got like the most absolutely ridiculous feuds going on, you can tell that they love fighting each other. My prime example, and it's probably the silliest example, was when Miz and Cena and their respective partners at the time had that mixed tag, It was just, here's two guys that are probably buddies and their respective spouses. They're having a good time. They're having a match. They can have fun in the match because they know it's not serious. Both of them are having the chance to have their life partner as a tag team partner on a WrestleMania stage, and everybody's having a good time. Did it make any sense? No. Was the proposal from John Cena after the fact really, really cheesy and something really funny to look back on now? Absolutely. But I will excuse a lot of things if I know that the people are having a good time. Tweak that slightly. This is Bo Dallas trying to pay tribute to his brother. This is a lot of speculative, but a lot of other people that were really tight with Bray Wyatt. You're looking at Eric Redbeard. You're looking at potentially Braun Strowman. You're looking at Nikki Cross. I'm not sure what their tie-in was. Potentially Alexa Bliss, who has spoken at length what it meant for her career to work with Bray and benefit from his creativity and stuff like that. And you've got all these Joe Gacy, who is in NXT and whose character has kind of been all over the place, but from a creative point of view could be seen as a not on Bray Wyatt's level, but another character like his, or might be in his image, and would just want to pay respect to a character that came before him. If I hold in such high regard, matches that don't mean much because people are having a good time, I can definitely give a whole lot of hospital pass to that many people getting together to do something creatively to pay tribute to a loved one that they've lost. It's going to take a lot for me to say it's bad. It would have to be offensive for me to not say it's good, because even if, and I don't know what the barometer for good is on this either. I know I've really lowered the tone here, but I don't know what the barometer for good is here, because, as we've all said in one way or another, Bray and his creativity was kind of, and I don't know how you replicate that without it feeling like you're just trying to replicate that. It is an awkward one. I don't think they should do it in Saudi. If they do it this Saturday, if I'm sitting there eating my lunch and the Wyatt 6 pop up on my screen, am I going to pop? Yes. Am I going to pop out of excitement? Sure. Creatively, hey, something new, I want to see what they do. More so, these guys want to do something nice for Bray, and good for them. And it is one of those times where genuinely I don't think it's any of our places to say anything else. I really don't. If they end up doing something, or WWE ends up turning it into something that actively disrespects Bray, and it becomes a very different, very negative conversation, I'll address it at the time, but the Wyatt 6 ain't even here yet, and I already like it, because if you don't, you're kind of a dick. That's pretty much it. And this is going to be my tone on this topic up until we get whatever the Wyatt 6 is. So if we haven't got the Wyatt 6 and I'm getting ready to go to Money in the Bank, I will be having this exact same conversation. I will be saying, honestly, if they do it at Money in the Bank and I'm there, I mean, it might be biased on my part. I saw the debut of The Fiend live in Toronto. Maybe they want to replicate that. But every preview that we have where we haven't had the Wyatt 6 yet, I'm going to have this same conversation with you guys. Because I think this sort of exists above, is this going to be good or not? Are they going to do it the right way? It's like, it is one of those rare occasions where I honestly don't think any of us, myself, Jake, or anybody else I have to co-host with, anybody watching, anybody in the critical sphere, I don't think any of us have any place to say what the right way to do this is. I really don't. You wouldn't walk into a church and critique a funeral. And this is wrestling's equivalent of that. Wrestling has a really cool and unique way of saying goodbye to people, that it's the 10-bell salute. If you're at a wrestling show and you don't stand for a 10-bell salute, I probably don't care for you as a person. And it's the same thing here. It's not going to be a funeral, it's going to be a living memorial, so it's a little bit different. But if this happens and people are crapping on it, or if it happens and it doesn't quite catch fire in the first night, just don't be dicks. Like, really, realistically, here's Spaz's TED Talk. Don't be a dick. The end. And there will be some competitive talk because there's 2 pay-per-views happening this weekend. There will be, oh, this match was better than that match, or this show was better just because it wasn't in Saudi Arabia. I expect all that to happen, and I'm like, I really think whatever, but just leave this one alone. That's all I've got. Sorry, I left that on a real downturn at the end there. Lot of speculation, but a lot of how I really feel about it. Just don't be a dick. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. If, like I say, if you're not watching the Saudi show because it's a Saudi show, I get it. If you are, you want to become part of the conversation, comment section is down there. Or if you're listening on audio, find me on X at Spaz Phoenix. Go over to check out, once again, the Wrestling for Life network. They're not associated with me in any way. I just watched their stream and I liked it. So I'm saying go check them out. Go find our buddy Jake DeMarco on X at Countdown Ended and show him some love, and hopefully I'll be talking to him by the end of the weekend. Thank you for listening. I've been rambling for quite a long time now. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out.